Pat McGuinness, National Housing Party, United Kingdom. I did a tweet the other day and it got about 14,000 views, and the tweet, basically, you can see it on my Twitter. If you go to my Twitter X account, you can see it's had like over 100 retweets, 14,000 views. And I basically said, I do not stand with Tommy Robinson, I do not stand with Nigel Farage, I do not stand with Israel. And quite a few people couldn't understand why I'm saying this, and I'm going to explain to you now why. So the people who exposed the grooming gang scandal, who could have actually done something about it, were the British National Party. And the British National Party were a completely legal and civilised political party. You know, every party's got its faults, but the BNP were 10 times better than the Lib Lab Con. And the BNP exposed the grooming gang scandal. They were in a position, they had elected councillors, Marlene Guest was one of them, in Rotherham. They had elected councillors all over the north, all over the country. And they were in a position, if everyone would have got behind them, to actually do something about it. All we hear now, today in 2025, is, oh, how all those terrible councillors who wouldn't do anything for the poor girls because they're scared of the R word, the politically correct misleading term, a racist, right? Well, the BNP wasn't scared about that. And Marlene Guest is a perfect example. She was an elected BNP councillor who was literally shouting from the rooftops about this. Now, what did Tommy Robinson and Nigel Farage do? They called her racist. They said the BNP's racist and anti-Semitic. Tommy Robinson and Nigel Farage went along with the state to demonise, criminalise the BNP who were trying to save those young girls. Now, this, you know, a lot of the people in UKIP now, who are in UKIP, they might not know this information, but this is what happened. Tommy Robinson and Farage and UKIP all went along with the state to crush the BNP, calling them racists. They were trying to save the girls, and that was what they was called for doing it by Tommy Robinson and Nigel Farage. Okay, so, you know, fast forward to today, you've got GB News, you've got Reform UK, you've got Rupert Lowe, you've got Ben Habib. They are all still demonising the BNP. They're all complaining that to this day a full inquiry has not happened. Well, the BNP was doing that full inquiry. They were literally doing it, in the middle of doing it. And all these people today, GB News, Rupert Lowe, Richard Tice, Nigel Farage, you know, they won't even mention the British National Party. They won't mention it on GB News. So there's a politically correct silence still today that these poor little girls people were trying to help them. The British National Party was trying to help them. And even today, they won't even mention it. They won't even give them any credit. They literally put their liberty on the line. Mark Collett, Nick Griffin got taken to court, luckily got found not guilty. And, you know, it's just an absolute joke that we are still in the same position. And all these people, Tommy Robinson, Nigel Farage, Michelle Dewberry, Patrick Christie, they're all complaining that it's terrible that these people turned a blind eye because they were scared of being called racist. Well, those people I just mentioned called the BNP racist, who exposed it. Are you not seeing the picture here yet? And the bottom line is, the reason the BNP was shut down, demonised and taken out of the political arena is because they refused to support Israel unconditionally. This is the bottom line. Those poor little girls' torture and nightmare continued. And many could have been saved. Many thousands could have been saved if the BNP would have been supported by all the so-called patriots like Nigel Farage, Tommy Robinson. They were in a position to do something. Nigel Farage, Tommy Robinson helped crush the BNP. And I don't want to hear people saying, oh, the BNP was finished internally. It wasn't. I was in the BNP at the time when UKIP got massive, right? and you couldn't speak about the grooming gangs in UKIP. You'd have been expelled straight away. So again, Brexit was put in front of the little girls in Rotherham, Rochdale, Oldham. And I was in the BNP at that time, and you had Tommy Robinson, who were talking about the grooming gangs with the EDL with their Israeli flags. And that was one section, and then the other section was the UKIP kind of section of the patriotic right. And they were both hammering the BNP, saying they're racist and anti-Semitic. And Nigel Farage and Tommy Robinson both knew full well the BNP had modernised. Since 2009, black people, Asian people, any ethnic minority were allowed to join, and they did join the BNP. And Farage and Robinson they know this. So the bottom line is, the reason these poor little girls' nightmare, torture continued for thousands of them could have been prevented if the BNP was in a position to do something about it. They were elected. They were elected all over the country in multiple council seats, especially in Rotherham with Marlene Guest, who was openly shouting from the rooftops to sort this problem out. And they were smashed down with a racist stick. Tommy Robinson and Farage were on that stick, helping the state smash the BNP down. They could have done something about it, yeah? And it's disgusting. And even today, it is still carrying on. These the crime these little girls committed, not being helped, is because the people who tried to help them didn't support Israel. That was the crime. That was the reason they weren't helped. That's the reason that all these figures I've mentioned to this day won't even mention the BNP. So that's the bottom line. These poor little girls were sacrificed for Zionism, yeah? Just because the BNP refused to treat Israel on a different level to, say, a country like Nigeria, yeah? Why should we be forced to give a country like Israel unconditional support when we're not demanded to do that for Nigeria or Pakistan or India or Jamaica? You know, this is the bottom line. Zionism is the reason the BNP to this day won't get any credit for exposing the grooming gangs. Marine Le Pen's party in France, they'd modernised just like the BNP. The only difference with Marine Le Pen's party is they are supporting Zionism. They've openly said that they will not recognise Palestine as a nation. So that's the difference. Like, the BNP could have been in the same position as Marine Le Pen's party today. And I think the reason is because of that issue, the Zionism. Because the BNP refused to cooperate with the international central bankers. They refused to give Israel unconditional support. And this is the bottom line. So Zionism is the reason, still today, that these young English girls who are being raped and tortured, and still being neglected. And the BNP were in a position to sort it out, and Farage and Robinson both helped stop the BNP. That is why I do not support any of those two, and I never will. Okay? So I'm going to talk about Israel now, why I don't stand with Israel. So I am a Christian. So there's two ways of looking at it. If you're not a Christian, because I remember before, I didn't support Israel, but I wasn't a Christian before. I wasn't practicing Christian. And, you know, I didn't support Israel 100% unconditionally. But when I became a Christian, it reinforced why that country shouldn't be supported unconditionally. So if you're not a Christian, at the very least, you need to look at who created Israel, the Rothschilds. They literally bought it with financial wealth. Just created the modern state of Israel. Every Western country is trillions in debt to these bankers. that clique of bankers, including the Rothschilds, right? So they are basically in control of all Western nations. We're all trillions in debt to them. So I don't know many people who like the Rothschilds, right? But for some reason, a lot of people support Israel. Secondly, you need to look into 9/11. Who really done 9/11? You know, the prime suspects of doing 9/11 are Mossad, and the motive was to trick the West into invading Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, Syria, and now they're trying to do Iran. Yeah, this is all for Israel's benefit, and they didn't lose any troops in the process. They tricked us into doing it, right? This is the motive. And you know, we've had terror laws brought in because of all the blowback from the invasions, all the attacks in the West. This all comes from 9/11. So you need to look into that if you're not a Christian. And Mossad are the prime suspects. Thirdly, Epstein Island, right? Everyone knows about Epstein Island. Ghislaine Maxwell was the son of Robert Maxwell, a confirmed Mossad agent. Jeffrey Epstein, another Jewish guy. It's a Zionist honey trap operation, blackmail sex operation, and they probably have got a lot of our top politicians in the West on camera having sex with children. That's what that Epstein Island was all about, and it was run by Mossad. So people complain about the Muslim grooming gangs. Well, that was the biggest and most powerful grooming gang the world has ever seen, and it is basically controlling the West because of the information they probably collected. Clinton, Obama, they've all been there, all these people. So that's if you're not a Christian, the reasons why you shouldn't be supporting Israel. If you are a Christian, the modern state of Israel are the ancestors of the Jewish Pharisees in Jerusalem who ordered the execution of Jesus. They reject Jesus. They say, no, Jesus is not the King of the Jews. Jesus is not the King of Kings. He is not the Messiah. And the modern state of Israel has that perspective today. They reject Jesus. They're never going to accept Jesus. So how many Christians can support a nation and try and preserve a nation on the birthplace of Jesus and preserve that nation? It just doesn't make sense. This is a massive deception, what's going on. So those are the reasons I don't support Israel. And the bottom line is, unless you're a Zionist, you're not allowed to save the girls in Rotherham and Rochdale from being raped by these Muslim rape gangs. If you know, the BNP would be on the phone to GB News. Oh, hello, we've got some information. It's the BNP. We've got this concrete information about the grooming gangs and these poor girls. Would you let us on your stations? Do you want us to come on for an interview? Oh no, you can't come on. You don't support Israel. Sorry. And this is what has happened right across the right. And Tommy Robinson is a Zionist. Farage and Reform UK are Zionists. They recently went to a secret meeting on the anniversary of Israel being created as a state. So they're all Zionists. And you know, you've got this free speech rally coming up. Tommy said he's going to do a free speech rally as soon as he gets out of prison. So this is going to be another massive waste of money. Thousands and thousands of pounds going to be wasted. Thousands of pounds going to go into Tommy's pocket from donations. What's going to be achieved? Nothing. The only thing what's going to be achieved is Tommy Robinson's going to get lots of money and take all that patriotic energy away from genuine small parties like ourselves, the National Housing Party, who are desperate for money. We stand in elections. We got three candidates in Camden next May. We've got one in Grimsby. We've got one in Bedford. We've got one in Oldham. You know, we're trying to do something about this. So this free speech rally, what he's claiming it to be, and he said he's going to invite lots of Americans over. Well, is he going to speak about the anti-Semitism laws? What the Trump administration has signed off in America, which makes it illegal to criticise Israel. There's laws in America which makes it illegal to organise boycotts against America, but it's not illegal in America to organise boycotts and criticise the United States. So is J.D. Vance going to be invited to this free speech rally? I've got a funny feeling he might be invited, Alex Jones, but are they going to speak about the anti-free speech laws in America that say you're not allowed to say anything about Jewish people, you're not allowed to say anything about Israel? You know, so the whole thing's a farce. GB News is a farce because they keep on saying it's terrible. You know, Matt Goodwin, Farage, Patrick Christie's, Michelle Dewberry, they all say they're against cancel culture. They all supporting a party which is Cancel Culture Reform UK. They've banned about 100,000 patriots from joining their party, all because, you know, they're anti-immigration or they don't unconditionally support Israel. So that's it, guys. That's why I don't support and never will support Tommy, Nigel Farage or Israel. If Tommy came out and apologised for calling people racist and anti-Semitic, which are basically anti-white and anti-Christian terms, you know, if he came out and denounced Zionism, apologised for calling good patriots racists, I would forgive him as a Christian. But he's making too much money to do that. He's making far too much money. He's had millions of pounds go through his accounts. You know, just recently, a Canadian Christian nationalist in Canada, Bethan Nodwell, had contact with Tommy. Tommy went to Canada to do a tour and Bethan was going to help him, and she exposed the grift. She cottoned on to what he was doing. He basically got arrested on purpose to then start asking for donations for legal fees. When he went to prison this time, he said he was going to go not guilty. He must have collected thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds of donations to fight the case to go not guilty, and he pleaded guilty at this last prison sentence. So Bethan Nodwell courageously exposed him for his grifting, his dishonesty. Not only did she expose the grifting, she saw his cocaine addiction. She saw his use of prostitutes. He claims to be against grooming gangs, and they said he was in a massage parlour with escort girls. So she exposed him. And what did he say about Bethan Nodwell? She's a neo-Nazi, far-right fascist. That's what he said. And all she's trying to do is try and preserve Canada to what it was created as. And it was created by British people and French people, basically. Tommy kept saying he wanted to go and get this curry in an Indian restaurant. And Bethan Nodwell was saying, look, Tommy, we've been invaded by Hindus here. And Sikhs. We don't really want to be supporting their businesses. And he just dismissed her as a neo-Nazi fascist. It's just, he couldn't make it up. Oh my God. So, you know, Tommy Robinson's on record. All immigration's great, it's just the Muslims. Just blame the Muslims. Every problem about immigration in this country, blame the Muslims, yeah? This is unfair. You know, I didn't want any immigration coming in this country, permanent settlement. None of it. Doesn't matter what religion or what ethnicity. Didn't want it. However, I'm not going to just blame one group of them for all the problems in this country. And Tommy's on record as inviting all the women from Saudi Arabia into the country. Practically the whole of India, all the Sikhs, all the Hindus, they're okay coming in. Same with Farage, pro-immigration. So what's happened is this Zionist-approved resistance has been created. So you've got the upper class side of it with Farage and all his mob, Zionist, pro-immigration. Then you've got Tommy Robinson, the working class version of it, also pro-immigration. And none of them are saying leave the Refugee Convention, which is the root of the problem at Dover. You know, we're in a bad position in this country. Reform UK are traitors. They want more immigration in the country. They want more refugees in the country. They're taking donations from WEF members. They're pro-Israel, pro-NATO. You know, they're not promoting Christian values because, you know, GB News, they're having all sorts of degenerates coming on there, giving a bad impression. You know, reform is not the answer. So my advice to people is do not go to Tommy's free speech rally, which is not a free speech rally, because they're not going to be talking about, you know, speaking out about Zionism. You know, we should be allowed to do that. They're not going to be campaigning for that, because that is why we haven't got free speech in this country, is because of Zionism. Do not go to the rally. It's going to be a big waste of money. Go and join one of the smaller parties who are not Zionists. You know, we're not the only party. There's 2 or 3 others you could join. Don't join Reform UK. Don't donate to Reform. Don't join as a member. Come and help one of the smaller parties. That's the only way forward for this country, because Reform UK is going to be just Tory Party Mark 2. Within a few months, they're going to be announcing it that all the Tories will be coming over. They're all going to be promised seats to get them to move over to Reform. And it's just going to be all the people who have destroyed the country for the last 14 years in Reform. Tory Mark 2. Mark my words, this is what is going to happen. Do not support Tommy. He's supporting Israel. Israel are trying to get the West into a war against Islam to create their fake country in the Middle East. Nothing to do with us. Iran's never attacked us. Hamas have never attacked us, right? Those conflicts are nothing to do with us, yeah? You know, it's like Iran has just not attacked us, and they haven't attacked the United States either. It's just incredible that people are just going along with this sabre rattling. We do not want to be in a war with Iran. If Israel wants to do that, get on with it. But we should be UK first, Christian nationalism. So that is the reason I don't and never will support Tommy Robinson, Nigel Farage and Israel. Thanks for watching.